Hey y'all, welcome back. We are going to make pizza for supper tonight. This is a dough recipe from scratchpantry.com. It's another one of Becky's recipes. This one is actually a freezable dough, so I'm going to double this recipe so I can make some to put straight into the freezer. So next time I want to make a pizza, I don't have to go through the step of making all this dough. I've got out all my ingredients, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So in this bowl, I've got a cup and a half of warm water around 110 degrees. I did not measure the degrees, it's just warm water. We're gonna add water, yeast, oil, and we're gonna set this aside. So we're gonna add yeast is 2 1/4 teaspoon. So we're gonna make one batch in this bowl, get it together, get it in the bowl so that it can be rising for supper tonight. And then we'll do another batch that will go directly into the freezer while that first batch is rising. This is an instant yeast that I get just at Walmart. Once you open this, put this in the refrigerator. This is what I use to make all my bread, pizza dough, biscuits, anything that I'm making that's bread type of thing I use this for. Alright, so that is my yeast, and then for oil, we're going to put 2 tablespoons of oil. I just got an olive oil that I'm going to be using. Alright, we're just going to set this to the side, it said. We're not going to mix it or anything. In our stand mixer, you can do this by hand. I don't feel like doing this by hand, so I'm going to do it in my KitchenAid. I'll put my dough hook on there. We're going to mix flour, salt, and sugar in this. So flour, we're going to do 3 1/2 cups to start. So with flour, I'm not exactly sure how it goes. I think technically you're not supposed to scoop it because then it packs it in there. You're supposed to weigh it out on a scale to get the grams of flour that you need. I'm not doing all that, so I just try not to press real hard. I kind of fluff it beforehand and then just scoop it out. So sugar, we're going to get 1 tablespoon. My tablespoon I use to measure out the oil, so we're just going to use my teaspoon, and 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. So there's 3, and then we're going to put our salt in here, which is 1 teaspoon. Do not forget your salt. If you do not put salt in it, it will not taste good at all. It will not taste like anything. All right, we're going to mix this slow. So as that's mixing, we're going to now add our yeast water oil mixture. Or turn it up a little bit. So you use up to 4 cups of flour in this, and so what I do is I will start off with 3.5 and then add a little bit as we go. It should form a ball and it should not stick to the sides of the KitchenAid. If it's still sticky, you add a little bit more flour. Now that it's a ball, we're going to take a bowl and we're going to pour some oil in it. And we're going to take our dough and put it in the oiled bowl to rise. And I just kind of pull the sides together like this. That way I'm pulling what has touched the oil to the bottom, to the top. And then we'll flip it over. So everything is oiled and it doesn't dry out as it's rising. So this is what it looks like. And we're going to cover it until it doubles in size with a damp towel. I normally put mine on the stove and turn on the light because my house is kind of cold, so it needs a little bit of heat to rise. You don't want like heat, you just want enough heat from like the light bulb to help it rise. So just cover it with a damp towel. I normally wash my hands. The towel I use to dry my hands off, I just throw over this and put it on the stove and let it double in size. Okay, so while that's rising, we're going to do the exact same thing again, except for instead of putting it into an oiled bowl this time, we're going to just oil it and put it into a freezer bag. I'll write the date on it and what it is, and we'll just throw it into the freezer. When I want to take it out and use it to make pizza, I generally take it out the night before. I just put it in the refrigerator, let it defrost overnight, and then when I'm ready to bake with it the next day, I take it out of the refrigerator, let it get up to room temperature to make my pizzas. We got our warm water and our yeast, and I'm almost out of yeast, so I'm gonna grab another one. So we got our new yeast, and we're gonna do 2 1/4 of yeast. Remember, once you've opened it, put this back in the refrigerator. And then we're going to do 2 tablespoons of oil. We're going to let that sit. And while that's sitting, we're going to do 3.5 cups of flour. We got 3.5 cups of flour. We're going to do how much sugar? 1 tablespoon of sugar. So that is 3 teaspoons is 1 tablespoon. Put the sugar up because we're done with that. And then we need salt. 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm gonna put that up because we're done with that. Put my dough hook back on. up. Alright, as it's mixing, we're going to add our yeast mixture. So as that's mixing up, I got out a freezer bag, and I'm just going to write pizza dough, today's date, and I'm going to put oil in this bag first, and I'm also going to put oil a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit on the dough, so when I put it in, it doesn't stick to the sides. This should make clean sides. That's not sticking to the sides. I don't know if y'all can see that. That's what you want. That's when you stop adding flour. So we're going to take our bag. I always fold the top down like this. So when I'm putting something in the bag, the seal is not what touches the food. The inside of the bag is what touches the food. Just gonna pour a little bit of oil in that. When you put the dough in there, you gotta kind of move it around that way. Make sure that the oil gets on it, so it's not sticking just to the bag. And I kind of do the same thing I do with the bowl. I take the parts that have the oil on it and I flip it to the front. Or to the top, excuse me. And then what's on the top has oil and what's on the bottom has oil. Then I'll take a little oil from the jar, put it on my hand, and just kind of rub it around, make sure everything's oiled so it don't stick. Before I close it up, I'm going to wash my hands so I don't get oil all over the seal. Alright, so take it and kind of flatten it out so it don't take up so much room in the freezer, and there's my pizza dough. So while the dough is rising in our bowl that we have over there on the stove, I'm going to go ahead and get everything cleaned up. I will bring you back once that's rose and show you how we put our pizzas together. So the dough has been rising for about an hour and it is double in size. So what we're going to do is we're going to preheat the oven to 500. And while it's preheating, we're going to take this cast iron and put it in there and let it heat up as it's preheating the oven. Okay, y'all, our oven's preheated. Our dough is risen on a lightly floured surface. I'm going to dump the dough out. This is enough dough, depending on how thick you like your pizza, to make 2 to 3 pizzas. So since it's just me and Peyton tonight, we're going to only make 2. So I'm going to cut this dough in half. This is not the correct knife to do this with, but it's the one I have right here. Alright, so we're only going to cook one at a time. So the one we're not going to cook, I'm going to pick up and put back in the bowl and cover it back up. And the one we're going to cook, I'm going to somewhat roll it out. Alright, so I'm going to take the cast iron out of the oven, the one we put in there while it was preheating. I'm going to set it on this towel. It's going to be super hot. And then I'm going to put some oil in this and then put the dough directly. Okay, so we're going to do Peyton's first. So we're going to get a bunch of marinara. I'm hoping next year I'll get a good tomato harvest and I can make my own, since I now got my own canner. Peyton really just likes cheese and pepperonis on hers. For cheese, I got fresh mozzarella and this little like balls called pearls, little pearls. You just put them on here and they melt. I got some fresh basil out the garden that has been washed. And I just tear it up into pieces and put it on there. A little bit of oregano. And then the last thing I do is I put some oil on the dough that's showing, and it just cooks nicely. We're gonna put a couple extra pepperonis on it. And then we're gonna bake it for like 12 to 13 minutes till all the cheese is melted. That's before. And there's Peyton's pizza. All right, let's get this plated and then we'll build mine. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing for mine. We're gonna put oil in it. Get the dough and put it in. Then we're gonna put some jalapeno. We're gonna put some basil. Put some rosemary. Some oregano. And some sun-dried tomatoes. Pepperoni. To take the oil out of the sun-dried tomatoes because I like that flavor. Here's this one going in.